Take into account the ideology of the car, saving resources and cleanliness of the planet, the paintwork is made on a water basis. Because of this, chips and scratches on the car body appear even from a slight mechanical impact. Most of the Nissan Leaf was brought to us with the help of the so-called grey dealers, who, as a rule, import cars restored after an accident or fluid. Therefore, to check body elements and electronics, it is better to contact the specialized service. On examination, pay attention to the hood. It is made of aluminum and is difficult to straighten. For cars of the first years of production, the doors were also made from the same materials. The American and European versions have differences in optics settings. Because of this, many fail to get certified until they replace the optics, and this is not a cheap pleasure – $500. Another difference between the American and European versions is the absence of turn signal repeaters in the wings and in the rear optics. This fact adds inconvenience and additional cost during certification. On copies of the first years of production, you need to pay attention to the fastening of the aerodynamic visor installed on the trunk lid. The fastening loosens. Due to the lack of heat under the hood, with the onset of severe cold weather, the charging port hatch often freezes over. In order not to get into an unpleasant story, the hatch may not open at the right time. In the cold season, it must be treated with a special anti-ice agent. The Nissan Leaf is equipped with an 80 kW electric motor, about 108 horsepower to 180 Nm. The pending power may vary slightly depending on the years of manufacture. When you look under the hood of a car for the first time, the thought creeps in that there will be a small motor there, from which the axle shafts go to the wheels. However, this is not so. The power unit looks quite serious and differs little from internal combustion engine. In addition to the engine, there is a conventional 20V battery under the hood, from which most of the electronics are powered. The air conditioner and the stove are powered by an electric motor. This motor is good not only because it does not need to be fed with fuel, but also because it does not require maintenance. Having bought an electric car for yourself, you will forget what an oil change, timing belt, spark plugs, pump and other costs that are required to maintain an internal combustion engine are. The only thing that needs to be changed here is the brake fluid once every 2 years, topping up the glass washer fluid and monitoring the battery level. The Nissan Leaf engine is powered by a 24 kW lithium-ion battery. On cars manufactured after 2015 years, they begin to install reinforced batteries of 30 kW. The power reserve on a fully charged battery largely depends on the driving style, but in most cases, one charge is enough for 120–150 km, on a reinforced battery up to 180 km. The manufacturer guarantees the battery for 8 years or 160,000 km. Experienced motorists often have a question: what can go wrong with this motor? And many answers will surprise you. Nothing. The only thing that can make you call for service only applies to the electric motor and battery. It's only the loss of capacity of the battery itself, which occurs over time. It is worth noting the fact that the more often the car is operated, the longer the battery life will last. To prolong battery life, it should not be allowed to discharge below 20%. If you often discharge the battery completely, its resource will significantly decrease. You can find out about the battery status on the instrument panel, 12 selection column. If all 12 sections are lit on it, this means that the battery is working. If over time their number begins to decrease, this means that the battery is losing capacity. Fortunately, when the battery capacity decreases, not the entire battery will have to be replaced, but only the worn-out module. The battery consists in 48 modules. The voltage in some wires of the car's network is 390 volt, so if you decide to do any repair work yourself in a garage, be extremely careful. Nissan Leaf does not have a gearbox that is familiar to most. Here its function is performed by an ordinary single-stage gearbox. The reverse gear is engaged by changing the polarity of the electric motor, as a result of which it begins to spin in the opposite direction. Unlike the power unit, the gearbox must be serviced, the lubricant must be changed every 40–50,000 km. As for the reliability of the gearbox, today there are no complaints about its performance. This model uses a semi-independent suspension from Nissan Juke, McPherson strut in front, beam in the back. The ground clearance is only 160 mm, therefore many experts recommend installing protection on the battery located under the bottom, which will save you from possible troubles, or replacing the racks with higher ones, suitable for Nissan Juke. Traditionally, for modern cars, the weakest point of a car is the stabilizer struts and bushings. Their resource does not exist 50,000 km. Also, ball bearings can be attributed to the weak points of the suspension. In most cases, they change every 60–80,000 km. The original part is sold only assembled with a lever. Silent blocks are able to last 100–120,000 km. The front shock absorbers serve about the same, and shock absorbers, with careful operation, they can last up to 150,000 km. The steering has an electric booster, which, depending on the speed, changes the degree of power of the steering wheel. As for its reliability, there are no complaints about it. Steering tips serve 70-90,000 kilometers, thrust up to 150,000 kilometers. There are no complaints about the brake system, so for example, with a calm manner of movement, the brake pads can last up to 100,000 kilometers. The Nissan Leaf interior is fully consistent with the ideology of the car, economical and environmental protection of the planet, and is made from recycled materials, recycled plastic. Despite this, even a car aged 4 or 5 years, there are no extraneous sound in the cabin, meaning squeaks and knocks from plastic elements. Cabin equipment is generally reliable. The only thing that can be criticized in the air conditioning system on cheap version of the car. Over time, cracks appear on the high-speed pressure pipe. Most often cracks appear at the junctions. On expensive versions, this ailment was not detected. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.